Welcome back to the Crypto World channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is doing something very interesting. We are currently in a deciding moment for the Bitcoin price, because if we cannot hold it this exact level just here, we could be in for a little bit of a short-term cool-off, as I actually talked about around 2 weeks ago on the channel when I shared this prediction just here. We're also forming a brand new pattern that I will be discussing that gives us some new price targets to pay attention to. And on top of all of that, I'll be going over this important fundamental Bitcoin chart and this important chart and this important Bitcoin chart, all of that in this video and more. So make sure you're watching the entire video so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And if that sounds good to you, just before we jump into it, make sure to leave a like on the video down below. And if you're new to the channel, you might as well subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on for more videos like this one. I post these videos every single day here on the channel. So if you could just spend a couple seconds out of your day to click like and subscribe, it's completely free to do that, but it helps out the channel so much and I really do appreciate it. But anyway, with all of that out of the way, let's get straight into what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Bitcoin US dollar chart on the 4-hour time frame. And as you can see just here, at the time of filming this video, the Bitcoin price is currently retesting the 21-week moving average. This is coming in at roughly around 44,500 US dollars, give or take. So if we start breaking below this level, start breaking below 44,000 with some sort of confirmation on the chart, so either a spike or surge in volume or a retest of that level to confirm it as resistance to the downside. Any confirmation like that on the chart would essentially mean that, of course, we are breaking to the downside and we would be in for a little bit more downside price action if this exact level does not hold. If you're wondering why this moving average is so important for Bitcoin, if you're a new viewer on the channel, definitely check out my last Bitcoin video that I posted yesterday on the channel, because I went into more detail about why exactly this 21-week moving average is a significant level to pay attention to for Bitcoin. Also, when you're simply taking a look at the price action right here on the 4-hour time frame, we are forming this double top formation. This right here is basically just the opposite of a double bottom pattern, like what we saw around a week ago, approximately nearly 2 weeks ago now, when we had a short-term cool-off, found a low just there, came back up, and then it came back down to form another second low that was pretty much at the same price as the first initial low. And then it was after we saw that bounce and broke above the center line just here, this actual middle line just here. At that stage just there, that's when we were confirming this uptrend to continue, because also we did actually see a successful retest of this level just here. And on top of that, we saw a spike in volume. So that's why it's important to pay attention to the confirmations on the chart. But yeah, if anything like that plays out, once again, that means we're actually looking bullish after a double bottom pattern. But considering the fact that we are in the opposite pattern from a double bottom, once again, we are in a double top formation. If we actually do break below this line, once again, with confirmation, then I would expect something similar to what we saw back here, but simply the opposite. So just a short-term cool-off, perhaps down towards these levels just here. In fact, we can actually measure out the exact price target for this pattern. Checking out the price target, that is actually coming in at roughly around 42,500 US dollars. And zooming out a little bit, when you're actually bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from this low at roughly around 29,000 up to the recent high at around 46,500 approximately, as you can see just here, we have the first Fibonacci level, the 23.6% Fibonacci level, coming in at roughly around 42,500 US dollars. So in around 42,500 to 43,000, just there is our first initial support if we cannot hold this 21-week moving average, coming in at roughly around 44,500. So if you're wondering exactly how I will be playing this, of course, do your own research for your strategy, but how I will be playing this is if we do see a break to the downside here, I would actually consider this as a buying opportunity. I will accumulate some more Bitcoin down at these lower levels, and any Bitcoin that I'm buying on the spot market, so essentially with no leverage, any Bitcoin that I am buying right now, I am accumulating for the longer term. I'm holding for at least towards the end of this year. Now, of course, as you can see here in the RSI, we are starting a small little downtrend in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI just here. This small little downtrend in the Bitcoin RSI actually originally started roughly around 2 days ago just here, when the Bitcoin price was pretty much just heading sideways. Once again, the RSI was already starting to head to the downside. And this RSI can sometimes be a leading indicator. It is an indicator that I use most commonly, because it was the RSI that also helped me predict this short-term cool-off just here that we saw a couple weeks ago now. Once again, we were able to predict that exact cool off before it actually happened due to the RSI starting a downtrend before the price even started a downtrend. But once again, when you're looking at the bigger picture just here, that was only a short-term cool off, and that turned out to be a great buying opportunity. And so that's why I do actually consider downside price action in the short term as a buying opportunity for myself moving forward. And considering the fact that we have now had a couple daily candle closes red just recently, we have now confirmed this bearish divergence on the daily time frame. As you can see just here, we've formed a high and a higher high in the Bitcoin price, but a high and a lower high in the Bitcoin RSI on the daily time frame. So once again, for the beginners out there, that is a bearish divergence. It essentially just means that it is unlikely that we're going to continue to pump to the upside. Not impossible, but unlikely. And it's simply more likely that we're going to see some sort of consolidation perhaps over the next few days, if not a slight little cool off once again. And staying on the daily chart here for Bitcoin, but bringing out this prediction just here that I did actually make on this channel 2 weeks ago now. So I originally pointed out this fractal playing out on the chart right back here when Bitcoin was at around 38 to 39,000 US dollars after we saw that short squeeze, which once again we predicted on this channel 2 days before that short squeeze actually happened. But yeah, it was right here just below 40,000 around 2 weeks ago now that I did actually point out this fractal that is currently playing out on the chart. And as you can see, ever since then, over the last 2 weeks, this fractal has pretty much perfectly predicted every single price movement over the past 2 weeks. And right now, what this fractal actually suggests for the Bitcoin price in the short term is simply a short-term cool off, which coincides with a lot of the other indicators and tools that we were just using on the chart. But as you can see here, when you're looking at the bigger picture, we are still in an uptrend. We're still seeing higher highs and higher lows on the daily time frame over the last few weeks just here. So even though a short-term cool off is totally possible at this stage, it is not a reason to totally panic. And by the way, for those of you wondering how I actually got this fractal and where I actually picked this price action from, zooming out a little bit further, I actually got this price action from this area on the chart right here, which was towards the end of 2019 leading into the beginning of 2020. Once again, zooming in a little bit more to the 2019 price action just here, as you can see, we actually saw 3 major lows just here and then a nice uptrend start forming for Bitcoin with these short-term little cool-offs along the way. And as you can see, that is what this fractal is right here, all of this green price action. That's essentially that fractal that is still playing out from around the end of 2019 once again. And for the new viewers on the channel that are wondering about this huge crash that was just around the corner after 2020 started, keep in mind that that crash actually happened during March 2020 when the pandemic really first hit the world and everything was capitulating to the downside. Even the stock market was crashing to the downside. Oil prices actually went negative during that time period just there. So that crash in Bitcoin during March 2020 was very unique to that particular time in history. So even though technically speaking, it's not impossible for us to experience another crash like that, so I would not actually be expecting any crash like that anytime soon, considering the fact that we've already seen a major move to the downside only a few months ago. And having a similar sized move to the downside from the current prices would actually take us below the 2017 all-time high, below 20,000 US dollars, which by the way, that has never happened in Bitcoin's entire history. We have never gone back below a previous market all-time high after we've broken above it. And by the way, for those of you that have been following me over on my Twitter, which is linked in the description down below, I have been giving you guys these extra updates, and you were also getting these extra updates along the way for this fractal over the last 2 weeks once again. So if you want to get this bonus content and stay up to date at all times in these markets, definitely check out my Twitter. The link to my Twitter once again is in the description down below. Now quickly checking out this important Bitcoin chart right here. This is actually the Bitcoin miners position index, which essentially shows what the Bitcoin miners are actually doing. So when this value is negative, when this purple line is negative, that means that the majority of miners out there are actually holding a lot of their Bitcoin that they are mining. They're not selling very much of it. And so that means the miners' net position is actually increasing because they are mining and holding more than what they are actually selling. And then when this index is sitting at a value of 2 or higher, that usually means that most miners are actually selling their Bitcoin. And usually they sell Bitcoin into the strength of a bull market or the strength of just a bullish trend in general. Because of course, while the Bitcoin price is down cheap, there is no logical reason to sell Bitcoin at a cheaper price compared to just holding it a little bit longer, waiting for the price to recover, and then selling it again at a higher price. And so that's exactly what the miners are doing right now. And hiding my face cam so you can actually see what's happening behind me just here. As you can see, the index right here is still remaining in these negative values, and it has actually been negative throughout this entire time period ever since the beginning of March. So quite a while now, nearly half a year, the miners have been constantly accumulating Bitcoin. And so this goes to show that a lot of this bearish price action that we've experienced over the last 2 to 3 months, this is simply temporary, considering the fact that these fundamental indicators show us that there's a lot of accumulation happening right now. And now checking out this important Bitcoin chart just here. This is actually the Bitcoin to stablecoin ratio. So basically it's all of the Bitcoin on exchanges divided by all of the stablecoins on exchanges. So if this is heading to the downside, that means that the Bitcoin on exchanges is going to the downside and the stablecoins is also potentially heading to the upside. And then when this purple line, this indicator just here is actually heading to the upside. So essentially what that actually means is when this is going to the downside, usually that means a lot of people are selling Bitcoin, because when you think about it, when this indicator is sitting at these higher values just here, for example, back in around April when we were hitting the all-time high, that means there's a lot of Bitcoin on exchanges that can be easily sold onto the marketplace. And of course, the majority out there are selling into fiat currencies such as dollars, pounds, and euros. But more specifically, the majority are actually selling into stable coins. But more specifically, a lot of people actually sell Bitcoin into stable coins when they decide to sell Bitcoin. And so this means that the stable coins on exchanges goes to the upside, which of course pushes this indicator to the downside. And also the fact that the Bitcoin on exchanges is going to the downside also drags this indicator to the downside. But right now, as you can see just here, we have been in this small uptrend ever since around the middle of July this year. So pretty much over the last 1 month approximately, this indicator has been on this small little uptrend, which shows us that stablecoins are currently getting deployed into the markets. And you might be wondering, well, that's not really a big deal. We're only seeing a small little uptick in this indicator right here. But when you're paying attention to how much stablecoin is actually sitting on these exchanges, across all exchanges, there's well over $17 billion worth of stablecoins sitting on exchanges that are ready to buy Bitcoin. So this is an extreme amount of buying power that is waiting to be deployed into these markets. Once again, this is basically potential energy that is stored in these markets. And once all of this starts getting deployed into the markets, that is when the price will shoot up even more. But in the meantime, the price, as you can see just here, hiding my face cam once again, we are still actually in a nice little uptrend in the short term. Once again, switching back to the other chart just here, we've only just begun the small little uptrend in the Bitcoin to stablecoin ratio. So basically, if this continues to the upside, that is good news for Bitcoin, because the last time that this indicator basically did the exact same thing as what we're doing right now was right back in around September, October 2020. As you can see, we formed this nice rounded bottom in this indicator right here, this purple line, if you're paying attention. And then the moment that this indicator began this little uptrend here and the stable coins started to buy Bitcoin, at that stage just there, it was towards the end of October 2020 when Bitcoin was at roughly around 13,000 US dollars, give or take. And all of these stable coins entering into Bitcoin basically started the run all the way up towards around 40,000 US dollars per Bitcoin, which was where we saw the first correction for Bitcoin along this massive run to the upside. So that's right, we pumped from around 13,000 to over 40,000 in only about 2 to 3 months. So measuring out that exact gain, that's roughly around a 300% gain in just 3 months. Now, does that mean we're going to see the exact same 300% gain over the next 3 months? Well, no, it does not mean we're going to see the exact same thing play out. But at this stage, it is logical to expect something similar to play out, considering the fact that we are seeing all the same signs as what we saw back then in around October 2020. So considering all of that information, right now, we are definitely in an amazing opportunity either way in the Bitcoin markets. So there's never been a better time to share these videos around with your friends if you're not doing that already. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on for more videos like this one. I honestly appreciate all the support on the channel at the moment. I can't thank you guys enough. But anyway, that's really everything I have to say for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in the next video.